Thanks for joining today's webinar. You can enlarge your screen for the optimal viewing experience using these buttons. You can also click the arrow here to view the hidden menu. The section at the very bottom will twirl out a menu that allows you to ask questions for the host to answer. Thanks for joining us, and we hope you enjoy this webinar.
All right. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us. This session is on future-proofing your business, why simple IRAs work. Our special guest is Adam Ackerman. Adam is president of B&A Wealth, chief compliance officer, and co-founder of WealthRabbit. So thank you so much for joining us today.
No problem. Thanks. Great to be here.
So here is our agenda for today. We're talking all about simple IRAs and the benefits and challenges and how WealthRabbit is helping with those. So we're really excited to just dive into, to start with, what is a simple IRA?
So a simple IRA, simple actually stands for Savings Incentive Match Plan for Employees. But what it really is it's an easy way for an employer to set up a retirement plan for their employees. And really the big benefits are three things. One, you get to save for retirement. Two, you get some tax benefits as the employer and employee, depending on how you contribute. And then for the employee, for the employer, you get employee morale because there's also a match for the employee. So, when we talk about for our customers and clients of what retirement plan you want to set up for your business, it's really three things. It's, do you want to save on taxes? Do you want to save for retirement? Or is it a employee morale thing? And a simple IRA does all three of those.
So it's definitely a good option for the smaller companies.
It is. And one thing I didn't mention that's on the slide here is a simple IRA, in order to contribute, or in order to have it, you have to have less than 100 employees. So really when companies create a retirement plan, it's either going to be what's called a 401k, 403b if it's a nonprofit, a simple IRA, or a SEP IRA.
Okay, so this is really focused more toward the smaller companies that want to offer something.
Exactly. We'll kind of go into the differences between a simple IRA and a 401k, but it's a lot of different things of why you would want to do it. Why would someone set up a simple IRA instead of a 401k? So one is cost effective. With a simple IRA, you do not have to file any forms with the Department of Labor, the DOL, and it's also not an ERISA plan, which means you do not need what's called a third-party administrator, which saves you in costs. A lot of the times, there's also more tax advantageous for small business owners to attract those employees, and the administration is also easier. Like I mentioned with a 401k, there's something called a yearly census that you have to do to get the administration through the third-party administrator, and this is all eliminated with the simple IRA. So the simple is not named because it's actually simple, but it makes life a lot easier for the business owner.
So definitely some big benefits of going with a simple IRA over one of the other options available.
Exactly. Unfortunately, a lot of companies don't focus on simple IRAs. If you look at some of the big boys in the financial institution space, whether that be Fidelity, a Vanguard, a Schwab, in a Census, a Principal, a John Hancock, they all focus to 401ks because, you can have larger companies, which means more money flows into them, which means they make more money. So a simple IRA is a tool for small businesses that we believe is not looked after properly right now in the business world.
So having a tool that's really going to help with those is going to help more companies.
It's going to help those companies focus on what they're good at and not having to worry on about the compliance piece of a retirement plan, wasting time doing the contributions into the plan. It's a time saver, which allows them to, focus on what makes them money, which is their particular niche.
Yeah, focusing on their business and not all of this extra.
Exactly.
So that kind of leads us into challenges of managing the retirement plans. Could you tell us a little bit about those?
Yeah. So currently with a lot of retirement plan 401ks, it takes a lot of time to do, whether that's the compliance work, whether that's going in and actually manually inputting your contributions into a system, whether it's be talking to your employees and figuring out how much they want to do each pay period or each month. There's not really a lot of real-time data. A lot of the reporting on a lot of these systems are just outdated and not live. So you have to waste time going to look at what those really are. And, the last bullet here, no solution for granting your team secure access to manage clients. Whoever, helping you run this business, you want to give them access, whether that be your HR person, your accountant, your advisor. It's very hard for that information flow without having to send emails and ask questions. So this solution that we've created puts everything in one place.
Got it. So can you tell us about how WealthRabbit is redefining simple IRAs?
I can. This idea came up through my brother and I, and we were in this space, and we were the ones doing a lot of the work, and we thought, why could this not be, integrated with all the technology that these small businesses have? So WealthRabbit is the first and only solution for simple IRA management. And when we say it's the first and only true solution that integrates with payroll providers, a fintech company called Apex, who's a custodian, it's going to bring data all to the user's fingertips. Right now, you have to really dig and pry data for 401ks. And this is just a seamless, easy solution. We've also partnered with BlackRock to build the model portfolios, which we'll touch on in a bit, about low cost, efficient, good investment options. That's another thing with a lot of simple IRA plans and 401ks is the investments are high cost and you don't really know what you're getting into. And for the average retail investor, they're not in the weeds of mutual funds, ETFs. So they sometimes just pick something. So we've really streamlined a process to help you make good investment decisions. The convenience of online contribution deposits. Right now, a lot of simple IRAs, you actually have to send in a check, which is hard to believe, almost 2025 here, that you have to actually mail in a check. So we've streamlined that process to ACH directly into WealthRabbit that goes directly into your investments. We also, obviously when we're talking about anyone's money, you want, high security measures. So we have the highest security measures on our software. And then there's also a revenue sharing option when it comes to different professionals, whether that be CPAs or financial advisors. That's something we're going to offer as well. So it's, there's in the simple IRA space, it really hasn't changed over the last 20 years. Everything is paper, mail, fax, scan, and we are redefining that with WealthRabbit.
So now that we've covered why, like what are the benefits of using WealthRabbit? What problems in that niche is it solving? Let's talk a little bit about what the process looks like with WealthRabbit.
So we can see now we have a snapshot of the onboarding process. So you can see on the left-hand side, everything is in our application. So it's a step-by-step process, takes anywhere from 7 to 10 minutes to actually, onboard. And from there, it's, the first part is pretty basic information. You're gonna type in, business, EIN, address, bank account, all that stuff. And then we'll actually guide you through on how to set up a simple IRA, which you would think would just be, hey, I'm going to just click OK. I'm going to click a button and it says, we're going to set this thing up. But as the business owner, you actually have different options of how much you can match and contribute, whether that be 2% or 3%. So we're going to, streamline that process for you, guide you with our support staff on what makes the most sense for your business. And after about 7 to 12 minutes, your simple IRA will be created.
So pretty quick then.
Yes.
Not a complicated process for what sounds like a really complicated thing to set up.
Typically right now, if you were to set up a 401k, it's going to take at least 3 to 4 weeks.
Compared to 7 to 10 minutes. Yeah.
Because if you're doing a 401k, you're going to have to find the custodian and the third-party administrator, and they're going to have to draft the plan documents, which sometimes takes a week or two just to do that. Then get everyone onboarded onto their custodian webpage. This is all streamlined, all on our application. Once you as the business owner types in your employee's email address, name, it actually goes to their court to where they actually need to then set up their accounts, pick their investments, put in their contribution percentage. So, and I think the next slide we'll actually get to. All right, so what we're looking at here is the contribution calculation. So what this does as the application for you as the employer is it shows you what their gross pay is, what you have to contribute, and then what the employee is contributing. So you can see right here, we have a 3% dollar-to-dollar matching. So Emily Carter here, she has gross pay of $2,000. Her employer contribution is 3%, and that's dollar for dollar. So meaning if Emily were to do 1%, the employer would match 1%. If she were to do 2%, it would match 2%. If she were to do 3%, which she's doing, the employer matches 3%. So that's $60 in employer contribution plus her $60 in employee contribution gets that $120 you can see on the right-hand column here. So our software is going to make those numbers very simple for you. And the good thing about all of this is if Emily were to change her contribution percentage, it's going to automatically do that on the employer side. So, and once that links up to your payroll, you won't actually have to change anything. So it's going to change. It's going to save a lot of time, a lot of effort.
So you go in here, you enter their gross pay, you run this contribution, and that's it. Like everything else is taken care of for you.
Correct.
And we've got like 3 employees listed here, but you'd be able to see all of them. Like if you had 10, if you had 20, whatever it may be.
If you had 10, 20, can't have more than 100 for simple, but if you had 50, and I believe also that if it will repopulate the previous paycheck. So if everyone is on salary, and it's just the same thing every pay period, it will automatically show that from what the previous pay period is.
So really just simplifying.
Yeah, simplifying the simple IRA.
It looks like they can update the time period that they're looking at, the plan year, if they need to go back and look at like prior year information, all that's available.
Exactly. So, we mentioned on an earlier slide that the reporting, this is fingertip reporting. You have it at your fingertips. You can actually update, different contribution time frames. You could do last contribution. You could do year to date. So if you have an employee and says, hey, how much have I contributed so far this year? One, you could say, hey, you could log into WealthRabbit and it will show you right there in your employee dashboard. But if you have it and you want to say, hey, this is exactly how much you've contributed, this is how much we're doing per paycheck. And we can even break it down between employee and employer.
Excellent. I mean, it looks like a very straightforward process, especially with the automated calculations. They're putting in what their gross pay is, but then everything else is calculated for them.
Exactly. So another very cool thing about WealthRabbit are the investment options for the employees. In a typical process to set up any retirement plan, the employee gets a list of anywhere from 20 to 100 different investment options, and they're just told to, you pick whatever you want to be in. Well, unless you're very savvy and you pay attention and you read and keep up to date with the financial markets, it's really hard to tell what you need to be in. So we've created inside our software where it's going to ask you multiple questions about your risk tolerance, and it's going to ask you anything from when you want to retire. Would you rather get a certain gain of $3,500 or have a potential gain of $7,000? So it's going to answer once you answer all those questions, it's going to spit out a recommendation for a investment model, and we've built 5 different models in here, and based on a 1 to 20 risk tolerance score. The descriptions on the models are in there. So if you see, hey, I'm in XYZ model, what does that mean? It's actually going to tell you exactly what you're going to be invested in, how much stocks, how many bonds, how much cash. And if you don't know what any of those things mean, it will also show you past performance of the portfolios. So you can see, hey, over the last month, it's done this, or over the last 3 months, it's done this. Over the last year, it's done this. So it also has benchmarking, which you can benchmark that to different indices, whether that be the S&P 500, the Dow Jones, the bond market. Because, as a investment advisor, everyone just asks me, what's your risk tolerance? What do you want to be in? Everyone says, Adam, I just want you to make as much money as possible. Well, we all want that. But, I always joke with my clients that the phone doesn't ring when the market's up. The phone rings when the market's down. So when it comes to investments, it all depends on your risk tolerance. And I can say, hey, if you're 30 years old or if you're 65 years old, you should be in, 2 different portfolios. But everyone is different. Everyone has, different assets. Everyone has different spending limits and spending levels. So in this, in WealthRabbit and in the application, we've built all those different options for you. And we've partnered with BlackRock, which if you're not familiar with who BlackRock is, they are the largest financial institution. So they have some very, very low cost exchange traded funds, ETFs, and that's what all of these portfolios are built out of. So, a lot of investments, especially mutual funds, they have very high fees that are baked in that unless you read the prospectus, which is sometimes 100 plus pages, you would never know what the fees are unless an investment advisor told you. So the transparency about the investment options is key to us as a fiduciary, and we make that known when you're signing up for an account.
And it sounds like this would be a lot of information, a hard process for somebody to go through if they're not familiar with it, if they're just sitting at home on their own with something that's not like this, trying to figure out how they want to invest, what they want their risk to be. And this is kind of just walking them through step by step,
exactly,
like a questionnaire.
Exactly, because it's going to be about 10 questions, and after
which is
those,
way easier than 100 pages.
Yeah, exactly,
right?
And it's very, I don't want to call them easy questions, but they're simple questions where they give you option A, option B. When do you want to retire? How old are you? Things that you should have somewhat of an idea on.
Yeah, like you can make that choice, answer the question, move on to the next one.
And if you answer all those questions and they put you on a very conservative, risk portfolio, and you say, hey, I don't want to be conservative, I want to be aggressive, you can always change that as well. So in the application in WealthRabbit, you can actually change your portfolios at any point. So it's not like, you're stuck with it for a year. It's not like open enrollment for health insurance where you have to enroll and then, you're stuck with that plan for a year. You can always update your investments and your contribution percentages.
And so like you said, you can kind of monitor like what it's been doing and then adjust it based on that performance too, it sounds like.
Exactly.
Excellent.
Exactly.
It sounds very, very simple to use for the Simple IRA.
So how do you actually create your WealthRabbit account? So you just go to wealthrabbit.com, and then there's be a couple different push buttons to get that started. Top right at the first screen, our website has a video where, very short video that kind of goes into some of the benefits that we just talked about. And then once you hit get started now, that's where you start that 7 to 12 minute process, where we can get you a simple IRA set up for you and your employees.
And that's it. You create the account and you fill in the questions, and it's 7 to 10 minutes, and you have an IRA plan for your...
Exactly. It's what's needed.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll now have a brief Q&A. If you haven't already, go ahead and put any questions that you have for our team or for Adam in the chat. We'll take a few minutes and just go through those, and let's see what we have so far. So our first question is, when can you withdraw from a simple IRA?
So just like any other retirement account, the magic number is 59.5. You can take the funds out before that age, but there's a 10% penalty. There's a special rule for simple IRAs that if they have not been open for more than 2 years, that penalty is then 25%. After that 59.5, there's no penalty if the account has been open for more than 2 years. So you can take your money out at any point. There just may be some adverse consequences for when you do that. Okay,
so it sounds like you can withdraw any time. It's just that you probably should not.
Yes. It's just like any other retirement account, which is, why you get the tax deduction now. You're going to want to withdraw this in retirement. So after 59.5, that is the magic number to when you can withdraw at any point. Now you can also withdraw before then. There are just some penalties that are involved when you do that.
The next question that we have is if you can talk a little bit about the contribution limits.
Yes. So just like any other retirement plan, there are contribution limits of how much you can contribute into a simple IRA. If you are under 50 for 2025, you can do 16,500. Now, there is something called the Secure Act 2.0 when there's a provision in there that if you're over 50, there's what's called a catch-up contribution, and you can do another 3,500. Now, the new provision with Secure Act 2.0 is if you're age 60, 61, 62, or 63, that catch-up actually goes up to 5,250, 5,250. So that's a long way of saying the contribution limit is 16,500 if you're under 50. If you're 50 or above, you can do an extra 3,500. And if you're 60 through 63, you can do an extra 5,250 on top of the 16,500.
Thank you. That's such a good answer, though. I definitely think that fulfills their question.
It's not. Yes,
it's not a simple.
It's just stupid.
But now we know. So.
Yeah, that new caveat of the provision is even. Yeah.
Oh dear. It's always something like that, though. You know. So what happens with the IRA? Like if someone leaves their job,
So. With the Simple IRA, if you were to leave your job, there's 4 things of what you can do. 1, you can leave it in the plan, in the Simple IRA. 2, you could roll it over into your new employer plan, whether that be a Simple IRA, a 401k, 403b. 3, you can roll it into a regular IRA. Or 4, you could take out the money. And then if you take out the money, then you get hit with those penalties if you're under 59 and a half. So that is normally the worst option. But those are your 4 options if you do decide to leave your current employer.
Okay. Very helpful, though, because I feel like there's sometimes a misconception that it's tied to that single employer. So good to know. Our next question is a little bit more related to WealthRabbit. Is there a minimum employee requirement for using WealthRabbit to manage IRAs? So I think you've covered that a little bit. It sounds like there's not a minimum, but there is a maximum.
Correct. Yep. So there's no minimum employer amount. You could have 1, you could have 0. You just cannot have more than 100.
Got it. So, a good range there for a lot of smaller companies, though. So what if an employee already has a retirement plan? Like how can they still utilize this IRA option through WealthRabbit?
You mean if an employer or employee?
Can you tell me both?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll start with if you're an employer and you already have a retirement plan and it's a Simple IRA, you can create another Simple IRA account at WealthRabbit, start using WealthRabbit and make your life easier. If you have a SEP IRA and you want to move up to a Simple IRA, you can do that. If you have a 401k and you want to start a Simple IRA, you can do that. Depending on the plan year and the plan rules, a lot of these plans, you can't have 2 of the same plans in the same year. So you can have a 401k and a Simple IRA in the same plan year. So you just have to make sure that you're thinking ahead, making sure that you're not abusing the current plan.
So like if I'm an employer and I started a 401k this year, I would have to wait until next year to start an IRA?
That's correct.
Okay.
A Simple IRA.
If they do that, can they then have both at the same time?
They cannot.
Okay, so they have to end the 401k.
They have to end the 401k.
Or whatever option they have.
Yep. Or the 403b or the SEP.
Still good information, though. I feel like there's so much confusion about the different types. So it's good to know that you focus on one.
Yeah. So if you are an employee and your new employer starts with WealthRabbit or starts a Simple IRA, you can consolidate your previous retirement accounts into one. And that's a very easy process. It's all done through the application. You need to upload a statement and type in where that previous account is. And we take care of all the stuff behind the scenes for you. So it automatically consolidates for you. It makes your life easier to where you know where your money is. If something were to happen to you, your heirs, it's easier for them to track down, one retirement account compared to 5 or 6. So, combining everything into one account is typically what we recommend just for ease. And so you don't, get locked out of other accounts or not know where your money is.
Okay. That makes sense. It definitely sounds like one is going to be the better option in the long run. I think we have time for a couple more questions before we wrap everything up for today. So this one it's a little bit earlier, and you touched on it, but I still think it's a good thing just to kind of help close us out. How straightforward is the process for a company to set up an account with WealthRabbit, to manage their IRAs? Just if you could, again, kind of wrap up why that's better than the traditional management options.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say when comparing, other simple IRA platforms, WealthRabbit consistently stands out for its affordability, ease of use, tailored investment options, and customer-centric approach.
Got it. I mean, but great things, especially when you're handling something.
Yeah, I mean, it's just this is this application. It makes your life easier, so you can focus on how you make money.
And our last question for today, and again, we touched on it a little bit, but what if the employer and employees are unsure of how to set up a portfolio?
Yes. So, in our application, in WealthRabbit, we can guide you through our investment options. We'll give you a risk tolerance questionnaire, about 10 questions that will then, kick out, hey, this is what we recommend you to be in. We also have our support. So if you have any questions, we have our support team standing out that can answer any of those questions. We're going to try to make this as easy on you as possible. Most people are not in the weeds of investments, stocks, bonds, alpha, beta, gamma, delta. So, WealthRabbit is going to make these decisions easy for you. You're going to type in, you're going to answer some questions about you, and our algorithm is going to tell you, hey, this is the portfolio risk that makes sense for your life. And the investment options we have are low cost, good performing, and we're very transparent about everything, which in the financial industry, unfortunately, is not always the case.
Well, thank you. That's such a good question to end on, and I feel like that really sums everything up. That is all we have time for this session, but we so appreciate you joining us and just sharing your insight and giving us really a good breakdown of WealthRabbit and why it's helpful. So
thanks for having me. It was a blast.
Thank you so much for joining the Tax Readiness Blueprint today. If you missed any of today's sessions, no worries, they will be emailed to you. They will also be available on demand through our Tax Bandits YouTube channel and on the Bandit Room podcast. As always, if you need anything from Tax Bandits, please reach out to us. We are available by phone at 704-684-4751, by email at support@taxbandits.com, or by online chat at taxbandits.com. And thank you all again. Be on the lookout for more great learning experiences from Tax Bandits.